Joining me now from the 3GPP plenary meeting is Bertenyi, who is chairman of the 3GPP RAN group. Balazs, good to see you again. We've seen a number of 5G handsets enter the market. We've seen a series of 5G network launches from early non-standalone implementations. Has this resulted in a lot of feedback into the RAN process?
So 5G network launches have been immensely successful and not only tied to one particular region, but globally. If you look at the US, if you look at China, if you look at Europe, even Australia, even other parts of Asia, well, Japan and Korea, it's been immensely successful. Just the subscriber growth in Korea, for example, the rate by which the 5G subscriber growth has been seen over the last half a year or so has beaten every forecast and every previous generation growth. So it's been beyond expectation, frankly. And it's mostly, as you say, it's the non-standalone implementation or the non-standalone deployment. So basically it's a capacity add-on on top of LTE. But we haven't really seen any major changes that we would have need to do. So to us, it's a reassurance that we have actually done a fantastic job as a standards organization in terms of specification, functionality, and stability, because we haven't really seen anything break in a major way on the field. And we have to remember that we have actually done this work in half the time compared to the time that it took for LTE standards to come about 10 years ago. So it's been very successful so far.
So it's been an endorsement of all the work that member delegates have put into the development of the 5G standard so far.
Oh, indeed, absolutely. And just moving on to standalone, we're going to see China deploy standalone very soon, over the first half of next year. They have also made a very strong commitment towards standalone 5G through mandating that all the devices that they sell have to be standalone capable from 1st of January onwards. And this will be the second major wave of potential on-the-field feedback from the standalone functionalities. So we are looking forward to seeing how it all works out.
So the current work is focused on release 16 or 5G phase 2. How is this work progressing?
So release 16, we're very close to completion. In fact, the physical layer functionality has been completed just this week, just an hour ago, so fresh off the press. The physical layer functionality is followed by the completion of the relevant protocol functionality, which is going to happen in 3 months, together with the architecture-related functionalities. And then eventually in June next year, we're going to freeze all of these specifications, and in essence, we're going to stop making non-backwards compatible. We're going to stop making non-backwards compatible changes from June onwards. So that's going to be actually the key step for the stability of the release.
To what extent are the use cases for massive machine-type communications and ultra-reliable, low-latency communications being addressed?
So the very first release with non-standalone, release 15, was very much focused on mobile broadband and operators. Release 16, on the other hand, is very much focused on the key vertical use cases, the vehicular use case, the factory automation use case, and we have made some great advances on radio functionalities that are critical to make 5G viable. Essentially, if we look at a factory, what we're looking for is a complete replacement of a wired communication infrastructure on the factory floor. But then replacing wires really requires us to make sure 5G performs as good as, or even better, as a wired communication infrastructure, and that takes quite a bit of work and effort.
You also spent time during the meeting on the next release, and I understand that the initial release 17 RAN package has just been approved.
Indeed. So this week, a big chunk of our time was spent with defining the work program for release 17, which means scoping out the different enhancements and further additions to our specifications. So with the scope, the individual working groups can go ahead and actually do the work according to the scope that we have set here this week. So it was, again, a major step towards evolving 5G to fulfill the full vision that it was set out to fulfill.
So when is the bulk of this new work due to start?
Release 16, as mentioned, is finalized now from a physical layer perspective. So for the physical layer folks, Release 17 can start early next year already, in the first quarter of next year. So all the different new work programs that we have approved here, the physical layer elements will already be started at the February working group meeting. The biggest challenge with Release 17 and with 5G in general is that there are now so many different sort of sub-ecosystems, so to say, that are very interested in 5G, and we have to give each and every one of these a clear evolution step and new pieces of functionalities in every release. If I look at LTE, it was one monolithic ecosystem for mobile broadband for the operators, and it was sort of rather simple. I mean, we still had, of course, complexities, but nothing like what we are seeing with 5G now. So we have now, as a new entrant into all of this, the satellite community, for example. So in Release 17, we're going to do a 5G variation or enhancements to the 5G radio so that it can be used by satellites, both low Earth bit and geostationary satellites. So 5G is getting closer and closer to really fulfilling the grandiose vision.
You mentioned satellites, but what are shaping up to be some of the other major advances of the next release?
So some of the key elements for verticals like positioning, for example, so you're going to have to be able to tell the position of certain sensors or certain robots or certain elements that control the factory floor, for example, require a higher accuracy, centimeter level accuracy, so to say, and also require a very, very low latency of the information, of the positioning information to be transferred so that you can make real-time or near real-time decisions based on the position of certain elements on the factory floor. That's clearly one of the most important elements going forward to make really 5G viable for the factory floor. Then we're also enhancing further the sort of direct side link type of communication that is used by vehicles and by cars. So it was originally, when we started this work, we were focusing on safety use cases, but by now with NR, we have some of the most advanced use cases now covered with 5G. So heading towards the world of self-driving cars, really.
We saw some of the activity in the RAN room today. There's a lot of people, a lot of documents, all being processed at a very rapid speed. There are routines, there's a language of its own. So how difficult is it for new entrants to this, say from the vertical industries, to actually get involved in the process?
This is indeed a key element for making sure that what we do is in real world also relevant. I mean, we're still very much sort of engineers with a telecom background. So it's very important that we get direct influx from all those verticals so that we understand exactly what their requirements are, what their functionalities are. Now, culturally, 3GPP, of course, like any other bigger group, has its own lingo, has its own dynamics, has its own way of working. But to me, the biggest advantage of 3GPP, also compared to some of the other groups, is if you come in as a newcomer, but it's very clear from the get-go that you know what you're talking about, people are going to listen to you. So you don't have to be here for 20 years and have proven yourself, for 15 years for people to listen to you. If you come in, you represent a key vertical and you contribute with technical knowledge, people are going to listen to you and you're going to be able to make an impact from the get-go.
So what's your message to all those delegate members who have worked so hard on progressing the RAN standard to where it is today?
So all of the companies and the delegates from the members who have been playing an instrumental role in working out the specifications and all the technical concepts, they have put in immense effort over the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, unbelievable working hours. Just work never stops, really, because we have, like, when a working group meeting ends, we have 30, 40, 50, 70 different email discussions on a particular topic. So the effort that has been put in by the delegates has been truly extraordinary. So they are the true heroes of 5G, at least from our perspective.
Balazs, thank you very much indeed.